A lot of women are in marriages that aren't fulfilling. They're lacking emotional depth and it doesn't feel like a true partnership. And it feels often like the only choice for you is to get a divorce. Maybe you think, I've tried everything. I've talked to him. I've told him what I want. I've tried to get him to change. But he just doesn't do anything different. He doesn't want to do his inner work. He doesn't want to grow. He doesn't want to heal. And I hear you on that. And I have been there on that. And I sometimes still catch myself there. But what I want to remind you of is this: wherever you go, there you are. Now, you could make the argument that, well, if I leave this relationship, then I won't have to be doing all the extra stuff, the emotional labor, all of the effort to try to make this partnership work or this relationship work. Maybe you could make the argument that if you weren't in this relationship, then you'd be available for a relationship with a guy who is trying harder. Some of that might be true. There is some truth to it. I'm not going to deny that. But the cost of disrupting that relationship, especially if you have children, can be significant. And that's the reason why so many women don't leave relationships when we have children and we've been in long-term marriages. And we sometimes think, well, maybe it'll get better, or, well, there are all these other things that are really good, or maybe if I try harder, then maybe things will get better. And then we're sort of just kicking the can down the road, right? And so you're like, well, Deb, what are you trying to tell me? I shouldn't get a divorce. I shouldn't just settle. What do I do? Where do I go? And I hear you on that, because it's been a hard, long journey for me. But I got to tell you the truth. I saw this thing the other day. Someone said, oh, if you're one of those people who are in a marriage and you're staying married because the thought of not being with your children every night, in other words, only seeing your children half the time, is much worse than the thought of staying in this relationship. I saw that and I thought, well, that was me when my kids were little. I was the one that was like, I don't want to be the person who isn't able to be with my kids all the time. And so I'm going to make this marriage work. And I was determined. But I got to tell you, my husband wasn't a true partner on a lot of this. And he has come a long way, and we have come a long way. But I want to tell you the honest truth. I wasn't really capable of having the relationship that I deeply longed for. I thought it was him. I blamed him for it. But I'm going to be honest. There was a lot of growth that I needed to do as well. And I think we women sometimes are so hung up on our husbands not doing their work and not showing up for us in the way that we want them to show up for us. But we're not even showing up for ourselves that way. We don't have the self-love, the self-worth, and the foundation of a relationship with ourselves. And we're looking for him to do things for us that we frankly need to learn to do for ourselves. We oftentimes call ourselves these independent women. We're so great, we're so emotionally deep and connected, and yet the truth is that we're usually lacking in that space too. And the thing that I think is happening is actually we're all growing. Even the men who don't look like they want something more in the relationship, often it's only because it's triggering some wound in them and they're feeling protective and they don't know how to do it. And the truth is, none of us really know how to create the kinds of relationships we want. This is new. We've evolved. We used to be in relationships that were based on survival and delineation of duties and roles and responsibilities. And we're evolving into longing for something deeper, a deeper connection, and we're not willing to sacrifice that anymore. The problem is it's not just available to us. It's not like it's just going to change. And I assure you that there are very few people out there who really know how to do this. This is a journey. And if you're willing to stay with your partner along the journey, you might find that things actually do start to shift and change for you. It's been my experience personally, but it's also been the experience of many people I know and many women that I've worked with and many women who have been in the program that I work with women in, the Whole Soul Way program. And I think that the key thing is to almost not get too arrogant about this. I think there are a couple things that are happening. We women are kind of arrogant, like we are the ones that want to do the work and we know how to do this. But very few women really know how to do the work to be able to be emotionally available, to be receptive to the types of things that we think we want, to actually create the circumstances in our family, to be sort of stepping in as the leader, to be able to create the emotional depth that we're longing for. What we're kind of mad about, and I'm going to tell you the truth, is what I was mad about was I was kind of pissed off that my husband didn't know how to do it because I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to create this relationship I was longing for, and I was kind of mad at him that he couldn't create it for me. But the truth of the matter is, neither one of us knew. We were the blind leading the blind, and I needed to do the work for myself first. And by doing the work for myself, I'm taking responsibility. In some ways, women are abdicating our own responsibility and wanting men to do things for us, and then kind of calling ourselves these liberated women. Doesn't liberation come from freeing ourselves? Doesn't liberation come from being the person who's whole and coming into relationship with other people from that place of wholeness? Because to me, I knew for me that I wasn't willing to leave a marriage that I knew that I hadn't done everything that I could have done. And I was going to have such huge consequences on my relationship with my children, on my actual children. We know that a lot of children don't thrive when they have been in families of divorce. And I knew that another thing was when I would have left my husband, way back when I was really seriously considering it, we would have probably had a high conflict divorce. And we know that that contributes even more. So my invitation to women is that if you are in a relationship where you're not happy in that relationship, you want something more, and you're looking kind of externally thinking maybe you can get that somewhere else, to consider the possibility that what you're really longing for is this emotional depth and connection within yourself. And that, of course, you want it in your relationship, but that maybe you can get it for yourself first. And maybe you can be in the container of the married with kids situation and be doing this inner work, this healing work, so that eventually you might actually discover that you've inadvertently created the relationship that you want. Maybe it's not the fantasy relationship, but let me just tell you, the grass always looks greener on the other side. There always looks like there's this romantic, perfect man out there who's going to fulfill all of your needs. And the truth is, very few people end up in that kind of relationship. We all are messy. We're all imperfect. And if you find a man someday who looks really perfect, he's still gonna have his quirks. He's still gonna have his stuff unless he has done massive amounts of inner healing work. And even then, we all know that even when we've done a lot of healing work, we're imperfect human beings. And when we are in relationship, we trigger each other. We bring up our old wounds. What is the best place for us to be able to learn how to heal and grow is actually in relationship with other people, because they come up and they rub us the wrong way, they poke at our wounds, and then we know exactly what we need to heal. So if you are desiring all of this, I really want you to consider joining the Whole Soul Way program. The Whole Soul Way program is open only for 24 more hours. It's only open until tomorrow night, Tuesday night at midnight. And I'm sorry I haven't been talking about it here more, but if you're curious, reach out to me. Go to thewholesoulway.com/program. Send me a message. You can reach out to me, or you can just sign up, because I promise you, the women in this program, they are learning how to do this stuff. We are learning how to step into the spiritually and emotionally whole and mature women that we are meant to be. I'd love to see you in there. Join me.